Hey, this is Matt. Welcome back to the channel, guys, where I'm going to be sharing with you a pretty amazing response to minoxidil only after using it for only 2.5 months. Not only this guy responded very fast to minoxidil, he also reversed his hair loss from diffusely thinning Norwood 4 pattern, which you can see here, which seemed almost impossible really to, regrow that in such a way he did in such a short amount of time. But I'm also going to touch on to why it's not a guarantee for a hyper responder to maintain this response for many years, and why eventually there will be a setback even if you are a hyper responder to minoxidil to begin with, because there are some other factors that you need to consider while wanting to manage your hair loss long term. Before we start, this video had been brought to you by GoFiber, which are hair building fibers you can use to mask any thinning or patchy areas on your scalp to make your hair look thicker and better. So make sure you check out the link in the video description below, where you can visit GoFiber, get a free sample of your choice, and try them out. See if you like them. Our model for today's video is Enrique Eduardo, and that's the guy who only after 1 month and 21 days was able to pretty much go from here, the picture above, to the picture below. This is only 51 days after using minoxidil 5%, and he got really famous for that. His videos got 500,000 views. First of all, I didn't want to believe that he was able to regrow that from this stage, which is again like a diffusely thinning Norwood 4 to Norwood 5 almost transition. Just an island of hairs on the frontal hairline, but all around pretty much nothing on the corners. And this is already the day number 3, 4. As you can see here, he's already applying his minoxidil, and obviously there's not much improvement yet. So let's just fast forward to month 1 at least, so we can see he was taking pictures every single day. So it doesn't seem like a scam or anything. It's his head, it's his hair color, it's everything. It's similar. We see how his hairs are becoming longer and longer, and how the areas on the corners are still empty by now, but this will pretty much change from the month number 1. And I think we're already approaching the month number 1, where we can already start seeing, yeah, that's the right photo. We can already start seeing how the hairs on the corners start to come out. Look at that. Look at this. Obviously he got a nice haircut here, and all the guys who are thinning, and if you go to a good barber, he will know what to do with this type of thinning on the corners where the hair is wispy. He will make it like a very defined line, as you can see it here, so it makes the guy look like as if he wouldn't even be like losing hair. So that's really good, and that makes it look that much better. Month number 2 and 12 days, and this is a video, guys, and look at this. Let me turn off the subtitles. I was actually listening to this guy, what he's saying in Portuguese. I was using the auto-translated subtitles in English, and he was pretty much saying how he's very happy with his results right now after 2 months. And again, he's showing his result right here, and we can see how the hair is thickening, and you can see like he has almost like he has a hairline right now with some thinning on the corners. But compared to what it was before, I mean, it's day and night difference. Obviously some diffuse thinning on the corners is still there, but because of his barber choice, he was able to make it look very sharp and more defined, and actually made his hair loss look better than it really was. So this is after 2 months. Again, guys, this is before, okay? So this is like a Norwood 4 at best, okay, with some wispy hair in the front. And again, guys, 2 months and 12 days. This is called, at least I call this, a hyper response. Somebody who not only responds very fast to the treatment, doesn't have to be minoxidil, but in this case it's minoxidil. And in such case, if you respond so fast, it means that you very likely have a lot of sulfotransferase enzyme in your hair follicles, especially in the outer root sheet. Okay, guys, if you have enough sulfotransferase enzyme, this sulfotransferase expression in the outer root sheet will convert the applied minoxidil 5% normally into the minoxidil sulfate, as you can see it here, and this will cause the hair stimulation. If you have a lot of sulfotransferase expression at your hair follicles, this will likely speed up the response to that minoxidil. So this guy very likely still has, even if he stops minoxidil and resumes the treatment, he will still have a really good expression of sulfotransferase enzyme. This is his hair after 9 months, okay? And obviously the mid-scalp got so thick, the crown got so thick because again he had existing hair in these areas, remember here? So obviously by the time of the 9th month this will thicken up and it will look like this. It's really good response, but we can see that the front it's still like thinning compared to the mid-scalp response and the crown area response, but again look how it was before. So the response is great nonetheless on the frontal third, even if there is some thinning. If he will be just able to maintain this thickness from here, I mean, that's amazing. So I would probably call this to be like the top, okay, the peak of his minoxidil response. Okay, now what happens from now, or very likely what happened from now? I don't want to go through all the other updates like 1 year, 2 years after his minoxidil regimen, but I'm gonna skip right to the 2 years and 11 months, which is here, guys. And this is a video he uploaded like half a year ago, end of 2020, and we can see that he's shaving his head here. And I was listening to this video. I also turned on the auto-translated subtitles, and what was apparent from this video was that minoxidil stopped working for him, or pretty much he hit a plateau first, and then he didn't see so much improvements anymore, maybe even started to shed more hair as before, but still he is better off than before. Again, look at him right now, he's still better off than before, but he seems to be losing ground right now. And we see it on the comment section as well, and we see that many guys are commented that baldness is something that over time tends to get out of control, and he's probably referring to his hair loss getting out of control as well. Some guy also commented about finasteride, whether he used it or not, and he said that I never used finasteride, so he has never used finasteride. And there were also, I think, 1-2 more comments which were talking about finasteride and the importance of finasteride and why he should have added finasteride to his regimen, and maybe possibly wouldn't have reached this stage right now and would have been able to sustain a better level of hair thickness by now if he had added finasteride to his regimen. Alright guys, very important part of this video is starting right now. How is it possible that somebody who initially responded very well to the treatment, he was considered hyper responder, and it seemed like this would have been the best treatment for him to stick to for the rest of his life, then stops responding to this treatment and he's not such a good responder anymore? Well, here is the problem, especially if we are talking about this treatment being minoxidil. What I want to say is that actually science is telling us that, hey, finasteride is actually the drug that we know more about and what this drug is going to do for hair loss in the long term, unlike with minoxidil. With minoxidil, we don't know what this treatment is going to do for males with androgenetic alopecia long term. We don't know what minoxidil is able to do in 2, 3, 5 years down the line because it has been never observed for such a long period of time. So it's no surprise that guys also like Enrique stop responding to this treatment, or maybe they will just see no improvements after this initial push during the first, let's say, 6 to 12 month period of starting with minoxidil, because that's what minoxidil is about. It's something that doesn't provide any additional benefits after the second year, actually after the first year already. So it's no surprise. Most of the studies done on minoxidil, usually the duration, as you can see here, is 16 weeks to maybe 1 year. These can be like placebo-controlled trials, as you can see here, or observational studies. We rarely have studies studies that have been observing minoxidil topical 5% in males with AGA for longer than 1 year. This is, however, not the case with finasteride. With finasteride, on the other hand, we see many studies, be it again placebo-controlled trials or observational studies, we see them being at least 6 months long to literally 10 years long. Obviously, this study unfortunately only involves 523 Japanese men, but this is like the longest study like on androgenetic alopecia ever done, which was also following up these subjects for 10-year period. If you start finasteride with lesser hair loss, the chances of growing more hair over the course of the next 5-10 years are higher compared to somebody who starts with finasteride as a Norwood 5 or 6. This guy will be able to maybe experience some nice push in the first 1 or 2 years on finasteride, and then since the year number 2, as we can see in this graphic, the results will maybe just stagnate. Maybe he's going to keep losing more hairs over time. So the earlier you start with the treatment, the better your chances of combating the hair loss long term. This is another finasteride study. It's like 2-year study, but also like we have like a 4-year study on finasteride. I think it was this one. Yeah, this is a 5-year study on finasteride, and this is a 4-year study on finasteride. I'm gonna link it below. Now, the best way how to illustrate to you why minoxidil is not enough for preventing your hair loss long term, and how DHT plays a much more important, much more superior role when it comes down to your hair loss long term. Take a good look at this little graphic with the x-axis. There you can see the age of a patient from 18 to 60, and on the y-axis you can see the Norwood classes from Norwood 1 to Norwood 7. Let's say this patient starts experiencing hair loss with 18, and the hair loss always starts by the end of anagen phase. Okay, that's going to be the yellow dot. This is always going to refer to end of anagen cycle. Anagen phase is the growth phase where the hair was growing, it was developing, it was having like thick diameter, it was really healthy, but then it's followed by hair loss, hair replacement, which is going to bring your hair follicle to another growing anagen phase. But during the next anagen phase, the hair will have more miniaturized structure. It won't have this full thickness anymore. What you see, these red lines, they kind of denote pretty much the intensity of hair loss, which is again DHT regulated, because we know that dihydrotestosterone is not only responsible for shortening the anagen, the growing phase, but is also responsible for dysregulation or disruption of the proper WNT and beta-catenin pathways, which are playing a major role in regulation of dermal papilla stem cells, hair follicle stem cells, and proliferation of the hair stem cells. Okay, we know that hair loss, and you may have experienced it as well, usually happens very quickly. In a matter of 3, 6, 9 months, you start experiencing a lot of shedding. You see a big difference in terms of how your hair used to look, and this is exactly the red line. It happens very quick and fast, and then it is followed by I would say more like a plateau, which can last 1-2 years, and this plateau is pretty much the new anagen phase, which is shortened already as a result of DHT already disrupting all of these processes that I mentioned. Okay, and at the end of this shortened anagen phase, there will come this yellow dot again, which is end of this anagen phase, and it's going to be followed by another intense hair loss. Can be more or less intense, depends on again the sensitivity of your hair follicle to the DHT, your 5-alpha reductase activity in your scalp, which is maybe converting too much DHT, like disproportionate amount of DHT from the testosterone, causing more hair loss, and this is pretty much going to be shown in that intensity of that hair loss each and every new cycle. Now, if you start taking minoxidil, let's say you start taking it at this point where you are somewhere like in Norwood 2, you already had maybe 2 shortened anagen phases behind you, and now you want to make sure that you slow down your hair loss. because if it's gonna go at the same pace as it used to, you will probably have like Norwood 5 hair loss progression by the age of 30. You don't want that. So you get on minoxidil here. What happens here is that the anagen phase, the black line, will become blue line. It's gonna be longer each and every cycle. So that's good. That's what minoxidil does. But what minoxidil doesn't do, it doesn't change this. It doesn't change DHT dependent hair loss intensity. It doesn't change that. It only changes the, I would say, the plateau stage. Notice here, this is gonna stay always the same. It's gonna have the same intensity, okay? You're just gonna delay another hair loss wave with minoxidil. You're just delaying the inevitable. And for this reason, there is finasteride. If you start with finasteride, it will alter this DHT dependent hair loss intensity, because as a result of, reducing the 5 or blocking the 5 alpha reductase enzyme, there's going to be less DHT conversion from testosterone. Can be 65 to 70%. With dutasteride, it can be 90 to 95%. And as a result of that, this, let's say the angle of this line, the DHT dependent hair loss intensity, which is like this, it will become more flat. In some cases, it can go back, it can be reversed if you start with finasteride as a Norwood 2, Norwood 3, as it has been shown in the Japanese study on guys taking finasteride for 10 years. The guys who started with finasteride as a Norwood 2, as a Norwood 3 had much higher chance of reversing that DHT dependent hair loss intensity over time, and they were not able to do maybe this, but something more like this, like it went like a little bit back, like they reversed maybe 1 or 2 Norwood classes, depends on how good of a responders they were, and again when they started with the treatment on their Norwood class. Alright guys, so that was pretty much it for this video. I would like to end it here. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, like this video. You can support me by visiting my website mattdominance.com, where you can check out some of my hair transplant related guides on topics how to research your hair transplant doctor properly, best hair transplant doctors and clinics in Turkey. You can also get on a one-on-one call with myself if you go to my website. I'm going to happily assist you throughout your hair transplant research or help you with your hair loss, hair transplant related issue one-on-one. Visit my Facebook group, Hair Transplant Experiences, with almost 3,000 members, where you can exchange your experience with other guys. And I'm going to be seeing you in another video. That was it for this one. Take care. Do you want to have less stress and more success with your hair transplant like many of my clients before you already? Then make sure you apply for this one single call, very important call, which can help you minimize all the possible mistakes you could do throughout your hair transplant research. A call with an expert in this field, which can help you maximize the chance of you ending up with a successful hair transplant. If you like that, make sure you swipe up right now and get on a one-on-one call with me.